This is 5 on 20 News with Alex Kack, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson. First, the local headlines. Thousands gathered at Tucson's Armory Park to take part in the Women's March, which attracted over 1 million participants nationwide. The people of Tucson came out in droves despite rain, intense winds, and gloomy weather, which probably matched the nation's mood. It was a day full of positivity and hope as protesters packed the streets with signs indicating their opposition to the policies of Donald Trump. The march was meant as a general statement of women's rights across the country, which is a continuing issue of tension with Trump. The president has vowed to crack down on abortion rights, along with repealing the Affordable Care Act, which would leave about 18 million people without health insurance. Some spoke out against Trump's behavior towards women, which has been only a few notches above Bill Cosby levels of vileness. The march began at Armory Park and headed to the library downtown, where the crowd heard speeches from Representative Raul Grijalva, Councilor Regina Romero, and Lynn Harani of the Islamic Center of Tucson. 5 on 20 News was on the scene. And this is our first-hand look at Saturday's rally.
America needs a woman president. They deserve it. They put up with us men for a long time. It's time they had a woman president to address women's issues. But Hillary Clinton was not the one. She was corrupt.
Yeah. No, the reality is, too, that the election's over. Trump is our president.
Yeah, and now it's not about Hillary anymore.
Yeah. It's over.
By inviting the women of this community and their allies to this march, you've made a statement that's so important, not only here in Tucson and in southern Arizona, but across the country.
I stand here to make sure that all of you, your energy, your love, your kindness, your passion continues from today. Today is only the beginning. Today is only the beginning of the resistance. We will conquer with love and kindness and loving each other and protecting each other, women's rights, immigrant rights, human rights, the rights of our environment, clean air, clean water. Those the least amongst us, we will stand together side by side to protect the rights of human beings and our planet, la madre tierra.
I would have voted for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
I would have voted for Bernie Sanders in a minute.
Yeah.
But they stole it from him. And that's, unfortunately, there's as many bad Republicans as there are bad Democrats.
Yeah.
And I hope Trump takes care of both sides. Well, I'm a military vet, 12 years.
Yeah.
So, the military stands with Trump.
Yeah. Okay.
Because, let's face it, the last 8 years, our country has been decimated. Our military's been decimated. We've been entered into wars, and Bush is as much to blame as anybody.
Everything that he's said, everything that he's currently doing, I think that is out of the question. I think that's why we have so many people here. It's because we're scared of what that future is, but we're saying that whatever it will be, we are here, we are making our voices heard, and we will not be silenced by whatever is going on. Also, we will always fight for our rights. And we've come so far at this point that it would be so detrimental to have someone feel all of this stuff.
And you know what? You can't teach an old dog new tricks, and he's a very old dog.
Going forward, we have hard work to do. Hard work to do. And that work involves each and every one of us, myself included. And the hard work is to create once and for all a sense in this country that this country is built on the pillars of people and decency, compassion, respect of law, and all equal under the law.
We will continue. We will march forward. We will resist. And the most difficult days are upon us. But we can do this. Sí se puede, ¿no? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
That women and their fight to protect their equality is not something that is going to go quietly into the night.
Because as great as this country has the potential to be, this country is broken. This state is broken. The United States ranks number 13 for being the best place to be a woman in the world today. Number 13. We're number 20 when it comes to economic and political equity for women. Number 20. Well, let me tell you something. The last thing that any of us should feel when we go home today is better. We can't feel good. We can't feel comfortable. We can't not go back to our lives and sit on our couches and do nothing because we thought, well, we marched today. Friends, that is just the beginning.
Powerful footage. Over the weekend, vandals hit Pueblo Magnet High School for the second time this month. The first round of vandalism caused nearly $1 million in damages. 3 science rooms remain closed, as well as the badly water-damaged gym. This time around, at least 2 more classrooms were hit. It is unknown at this time if the 2 break-ins are related, but Tucson Unified School District Superintendent H.T. Sanchez has added extra security to the school and is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. If you have any information about these incidents, call 88-CRIME. Hospital food is disgusting across the country, but one local hospital is taking it to the next level. Last week, the cafeteria at Carondelet St. Joseph's failed a health inspection. One of the hospital's refrigerators was not keeping meat sufficiently cool. Usually, it takes 5 priority violations to warrant a failing grade, but the inspector cited the cafeteria's pattern of non-compliance as a reason enough for the probationary rating. In other words, the cafeteria at Carondelet St. Joe's has a history of serving unsafe food. The hospital has since removed the refrigerator in question, and the cafeteria rated good or excellent in all other areas of the inspection. Given the alleged history of non-compliance, however, it's probably safer to pack a lunch if you have to visit St. Joe's Hospital. Tucson was partying like it was 1934 this past weekend. Hotel Congress held its 5th annual Dillinger's Days event on Friday and Saturday to honor the capture of John Dillinger by the Tucson Police Department and the Tucson Fire Department. While Trump was in Washington, D.C. spouting 1930s isolationist ideals, event attendees embraced 1930s aesthetics. Cars from the era lined the street, women dressed like flappers, and men came decked out in 3-piece suits with bowler hats. Saturday saw a reenactment of the Notorious Gangster's capture, which took place on January 22, 1934. The Hotel Congress building was added to the National Historic Register in 2003, and all proceeds went to the Greater Tucson Fire Foundation. And if you're a fan of horror movies and not a big devotee of sleep, the Loft Cinema has just the event for you. This Saturday, the popular nonprofit theater is holding an all-night Scream-a-rama. From 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., the theater will play host to 7 classic horror movies, as well as short films, trailers, drink specials, trivia, and prizes. Tickets are $13 in advance and $15 on the day of the show. For more information, visit loftcinema.org. And now, in national and international news. The 2017 presidential inauguration was an embarrassment on many levels. Trump blatantly stole the cake design from Obama. He stole the America First slogan from former KKK imperial wizard David Duke, and even stole a Bible from Abraham Lincoln. But the most embarrassing facet of the event has to be the response to the low turnout for Trump. After retweeting side-by-side aerial shots of the 2009 and 2017 inaugurations, the National Park Service was ordered by the Trump administration to stop tweeting. Park Service tweets resumed the following day, beginning with a tweet apologizing for the so-called mistake. The Park Service does not release crowd estimates for gatherings at the National Mall, but most put the estimate somewhere below 200,000, or about 1/3 of the total turnout of the Women's March the following day. In his first briefing, Sean Spicer called out the media for its alleged false reporting and claimed, quote, "This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe." Yet, Nielsen ratings and aerial photography say otherwise. And just like that, Spicer became a meme. The fact that the Trump administration is only days old and already punishing honesty and promoting what Kellyanne Conway has referred to as alternative facts is an alarming indication of what the next 4 years may look like, especially over something as petty and frankly verifiable as crowd size. Let's hope we don't all inflict permanent neck injuries on ourselves by shaking our heads ad nauseum over the next 4 years. Following the inauguration, Richard, I'm not a Nazi, but like, can we really prove Jewish people have souls? Spencer was punched in the face. At the time of the attack, Spencer was standing on a D.C. street corner talking to reporters. And just as Spencer was about to explain his Pepe the Frog lapel pin, a masked man came from out of nowhere to sucker punch the Nazi leader. The assault raises a few questions like, is violence justified when the recipient is a Nazi? Is it worse to punch one man or casually condone the extermination of anyone who isn't right? What song goes best with the video of Richard Spencer getting punched in the face? The masked man has not been identified, and Spencer has not filed a police report. If you know the attacker, you could contact the D.C. Metro Police Department, or you could buy that hero a beer. And just 24 hours after Donald Trump vowed to give the power back to the people, over 1 million citizens flooded the National Mall to make their voices heard. The Women's March on Washington was an all-inclusive event. Citizens carried signs promoting pro-immigrant, pro-woman, pro-environment, pro-LGBTQ proclamations, as well as Trump trolling signs. Sister marches took place all over the country in inspiring numbers, and an estimated 750,000 attended the march in Los Angeles, while 400,000 attended in New York City, and at least 120,000 attended in Seattle. But it wasn't just coastal elitists that were taking to the streets on Saturday. Sister marches took place in red states such as Alaska, Kansas, Virginia, Ohio, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, and many, many more. In his inaugural address, Trump said, quote, "To all Americans in every city near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, and from ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again." And millions across the country spoke up on Saturday. It's yet to be determined if Trump will stick to his clearly ghost-written words. Many are calling for a nationwide protest on tax day to pressure Trump into releasing his tax returns. Senior advisor Kellyanne Conway and Trump himself have been insistent that nobody cares, but we'll see. And on Monday morning, President Donald Trump signed one of his first executive orders. And this one has major implications for reproductive health access for women across the world. Surrounded by fellow unscrupulous men, Trump signed the Mexico City policy back into law. The Mexico City policy is commonly called the Global Gag Rule and was first instated by President Ronald Reagan. It bars U.S. funds from contributing to non-governmental organizations that offer abortion, even if U.S. dollars aren't used for abortion-related services. In fact, even without the Global Gag Rule in place, no U.S. funds can be used to fund abortions. The non-governmental organizations we were supporting provide a wide range of family planning and reproductive health services. Trump's action will likely be deadly for women and girls in conflict zones as well as developing countries. The $600 million the U.S. was providing for assistance has helped approximately 27 million women and couples. It looks like our new president just can't get out of his own business. Neither Donald Trump nor his daughter Ivanka have disclosed evidence that they have taken steps to remove themselves from their business ties. ProPublica contracted some of the states where Trump does business and found no evidence that Trump had begun the transfer of ownership of his businesses. In a press conference the week he was inaugurated, Trump said that he would pass ownership over to his sons in a not-so-blind trust. ProPublica said that Trump would have to file a long list of documents in Florida, New York, and Delaware. Officials of those states all reported that Trump had not filed any of this paperwork. Maybe they're still in those folders from the press conference. His daughter Ivanka is also listed as being an authorized officer to 2 businesses related to the old post office in Washington, D.C. This is the former federal building that Trump bought and turned into a hotel. Critics said that the building serves as the largest conflict of interest in a series of other huge conflicts of interest. Because the old post office is still technically government property, he can use it to curry favor among foreign governments, which is against the law for a president. When pressed about the issue, Trump said that, unfortunately, his business is under audit and he loves you tremendously. Plus, it's all fake news. The Republicans may finally have a plan to replace the Affordable Care Act. And if the plan is to be believed, it's nothing new. Kellyanne Conway was one of Donald Trump's counselors, revealed some aspects of the plan on NBC's Sunday Today show on Sunday. She said that replacement law turned Medicaid, the state-run health insurance program for the poor, into a block grant program. This would mean that the federal government would give each state money to decide how the program will be run. Currently, Medicaid has an open-ended funding stream, meaning that it is funded according to a state's need. With a block grant system, states will only receive a particular amount of money and will be forced to make Medicaid work with potentially less funding. Conservatives have long hailed block grants as a way to cut Medicaid costs, but critics say that block grants often lead to less care in the long run. Edwin Park, Vice President of Health Policy at the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, said that the system would threaten benefits for tens of millions of low-income families. Conway didn't elaborate further on the block grant program, but it could be one of 2 scenarios. In one scenario, the federal government would give states one lump sum, which would increase when the economy is bad to cover the increase in people who need Medicaid. In the second scenario, the fixed sum would grow with inflation. This could be the doomsday scenario for some because inflation grows much slower than healthcare costs. Also on the program, Conway reiterated that everyone in the country will be insured, although she didn't specify how this would be done. One idea floated around is simply changing the definition of the word insurance to mean anyone that possesses a beating heart. Oh, now Trump's gone and done it. He pissed off WikiLeaks. The government leaks website was alienated by the news that the president would not reveal his tax returns. The organization tweeted that Trump's breach of promise over the release of his tax returns is even more gratuitous than Clinton concealing her Goldman Sachs transcript. WikiLeaks then asked for someone to hunt down Trump's tax returns, putting the president in the crosshairs of some guy on a bed with a laptop somewhere. The statement comes at an interesting time. WikiLeaks attracted surprising support from Trump and the Republicans for their release of hacked emails. Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, also defended Trump over the controversial dossier connecting Trump and Russia. But now it looks as though Trump has lost yet another ally. If things continue this way, in 2 months, Trump's only supporters will be Gene Simmons and Pepe the Frog. Severe weather has caused the death of at least 18 people and has injured 23 in southeast Georgia. Governor Nathan Deal issued a state of emergency on Sunday for 7 counties in the state. The damage came from overnight tornadoes on Sunday that carried winds above 136 miles per hour. Storms also ripped through Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas over the weekend. Although no deaths were recorded so far, Donald Trump addressed the issue Sunday morning as part of his swearing-in ceremony. He said that he offered his sincere condolences and said that the people of Georgia suffered greatly. When asked if he would visit the affected areas, Trump said that unfortunately he wouldn't be able to fit it into his schedule. He then went home to tweet about the attendance of the pre-inauguration Toby Keith concert. And Israel is moving forward with its plans to build settlements in the contested city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem's City Hall approved the construction of 566 new homes in the eastern part of the city. The decision comes soon after the inauguration of Donald Trump, who has pledged complete support for Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has delayed settlement construction after the UN dubbed the plan illegal. The Obama administration was criticized by Israel for not stopping the UN vote in which the U.S. abstained. But now that Trump is in the White House, Israel has free rein to expand settlements. Jerusalem is divided by Israelis and Palestinians, who both lay claim to the land. Obama had long sought for a two-state resolution to solve the conflict, but hopes were dashed when a certain little orange fella crashed the party. Trump is expected to meet with Netanyahu sometime in February to discuss further destabilizing the Middle East. This was Alex Kack for 5 on 20 News. Next up, Sean sees dead people.
I paint flowers so they will not die. Frida Kahlo said that. Let's get surreal, let's get experimental, let's get expressive. For the second week in a row, I'll be talking art. All three of these men died from diseases of the heart. Let's go. On this day in 1944, the Norwegian painter Edvard Munch died at the age of 80 from pneumonia and cardiovascular disease. You may know him by his famous painting, The Scream. You may also know him by another painting called The Sick Child. This painting was likely an allusion to his childhood, which saw the loss of his mother to tuberculosis, the death of his favorite sister shortly thereafter, also to tuberculosis, and cloistered winters due to his own frequent sickness. Edvard's father exposed his children to ghost stories, in addition to the spooky stories of American writer Edgar Allan Poe. Despite Munch's father being a dedicated one, his strictly observed Christianity often overshadowed his affection. This dichotomy could easily account for Munch's exploration of some of the darker sides of psychology, later exhibited in many of his works, especially The Scream. The international, often primitive brushstrokes spoke to much of the anxious tendencies of the human psyche. That work, like this and inspired by this, would later be dubbed Expressionism. If you didn't already know, Nazi Germany and Hitler himself crusaded against modern expressionistic art. Hitler announced in 1937, "For all we care, those prehistoric, Stone Age, culture barbarians, and art stutterers can return to caves of their ancestors, and they can apply their primitive and international scratching." Due to the bungled seizures of Europe's great art by the Nazis, Munch's work, and specifically The Scream, is known for its scattered and sketchy provenance or record of ownership. While many private art collectors purchased Munch's work back into Norway after the fall of the Third Reich, Munch's work continues to make art world news by getting stolen. In 2004, masked gunmen entered the Munch Museum in Oslo and stole 2 important works. Through extensive investigations and trials, the paintings were recovered in 2006. The 2 paintings were Munch's Madonna and, of course, the Scream. A month after his birthday, his Nazi-orchestrated funeral suggested to Norwegians that he was a Nazi sympathizer, a kind of alternative fact, when the truth is he was much more of a free agent. From my rotting body, flowers shall grow, and I am in them, and that is eternity. Those were Munch's words. On this day, in 1986, West German avant-garde artist and theorist Joseph Beuys died at the age of 64 from heart failure. Beuys' extensive body of work principally comprises 4 domains: works of art in a traditional sense, meaning painting and drawing and sculpture and installations, performance, contributions to theory and art and academic teaching, and social and political activities. He was considered a member of the Fluxus movement, which was characterized by its happenings. A happening was a non-conventional performance similar to theater, while simultaneously abandoning many of theater's conventions. Happenings are where performance art took place. Other famous Fluxus or happening artists include Yoko Ono and Nam June-paik. One of the standout themes in Beuys' work was that of the artist as a shaman. Beuys thought that our vision of the world needed to be extended to encompass all of the invisible energies with which he thought we had lost contact. In his provocative and memorable 1974 performance, I Like America and America Likes Me, Beuys flew to New York City and was taken by ambulance to a performance space, which was a room in a gallery. So he was rode on this ambulance in a stretcher, wrapped in a felt disaster blanket. When he arrived, he spent time or cohabited in a room with a coyote, a live coyote. For 8 hours over 3 days, he spent time in there. He held a large shepherd's staff while he watched the coyote, and the coyote watched him. The coyote eventually shredded the disaster blanket to pieces. The performance required the adjustment of elements as the relationship between the 2 living subjects unfolded. This idea was very new to art at the time. So can you see how the interactions between Beuys and the coyote shed light on some of those invisible forces Beuys might have been talking about? At the end of the 3 days, Beuys hugged the coyote that had grown tolerant of him and was taken to the airport. Again, he rode in a veiled ambulance, leaving America without ever having set foot on the ground. As Beuys later explained, I wanted to isolate myself and insulate myself and see nothing of America other than the coyote. On this day, in 1989, extra famous surrealist artist Salvador Dali died at the age of 82. I'm feeling a little uninspired to educate you all on the Walt Disney of surrealist art, so here's a Salvador Dali animation that he made in collaboration with the Walt Disney Studio. Enjoy, and that was Sean C's Dead People. See you next week.
in the arms that I feel now, as they were meant to be. For you came along